r/AskReddit question. African proverb says, the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel the warmth. What time in your life have you been closest to starting the fire? 16 years old. Finally decided to fight back against abusive parents. Only had to do it once to stop the physical abuse. The brain freaks kept happening.
It's so terrible when the people that are supposed to protect you are your abusers. I'm so sorry you've had to live through this. For me, it was 6 months ago. Finally decided to fight back against bullying I've endured from friends for years. I'm alone, but damn, I'm stronger and better for it. Funny how abusers tend to be cowards. They like their targets soft.
I can absolutely attest to being around people who will live starved and then subsequently self-sabotaging or otherwise destructive. In a softer sense, if I have felt rejected, I have felt peace in sort of burning bridges to find myself.
May the bridges you burn light the way forward. It's hard not to burn bridges when you got that motivational fire beneath your feet. Just make sure you're off the bridge and no longer need it prior to burning it.
Whenever I'm in a meeting and my suggestions are getting consistently ignored and I'm getting interrupted and talked over, I get the weirdest urge to prove I still exist by jumping on the table and busting out the Queen of the Night aria. Edit. There's a lot of good advice in the replies. I will say that in about 60% of my meetings this is never an issue. And in the other 40% it's an issue because of a few specific co-workers who resort to just yelling. If confronted politely, their managers have been made aware of this.
Ring an air horn. Then just continue talking as if nothing interrupted you. I cannot guarantee the success of this strategy. Own your space. I've seen people who do so in a respectful manner, and it works. Sometimes it's just an overeager person trying to get their thoughts out that cuts you off. And they may not mean it. Chiming in to let them know you weren't done is helpful to both of you. And if the person that cut you off did mean it, you're showing them you won't be a doormat. In situations like that I usually raise my voice and say something like, as I was saying before I was interrupted. It usually shuts up people and keeps them from interrupting again.
Moved to a new town and started going to a new church when Dad got cancer. Went to church and told the pastor to try and get advice. Pastor announced this to the convocation and also told everyone that some lady's horse was sick. Watched the entire convocation console this lady about a sick horse. The convocation was in tears about some sick horse while my dad was dying. No one said a word to my family. Never been to church since.
Sounds familiar to me. One of the reasons I stopped going years ago. No true compassion for anyone unless it makes them look good socially. I'm sorry about your dad. I know there are no words, but I am sorry. Sounds familiar to me. One of the reasons I stopped going years ago. No true compassion for anyone unless it makes them look good socially. I'm sorry about your dad. I know there are no words, but I am sorry. The first question asked, was the baby Christian, as if any other baby would not be worth mentioning. I wonder why Christians seem to find it so hard to act in a Christian manner. You'd have thought it would have been pretty simple, given that it's the entire premise of the whole charade. Reminds me of the Mahatma Gandhi quote, "I like your Christ. I do not like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ."
Oh man, middle school for me. I was heavy bullied at school, mentally and physically. I wasn't getting any support at home or felt like I was. I was not in a good place then. I had so many negative thoughts of hurting others and myself. Thankfully I never had a gun or I would have become one of those school shooters. That's how bad and deep in depression I was in. I didn't up in a psych ward, and man, those places are terrible. I didn't get any help but only learned to bottle my shit up more.
Do you think you'll recover and be happy? Well, I'm not sure. I'm seeing a therapist now and it's nice getting some things out and have some sort of support. I'm also trying new things to help my mental health, but if I'm to be honest, just about every other day I wish I was never born and wish I just die in my sleep.
Working in public accounting as an auditor. 65 plus hour weeks. Getting yelled at by clients for things that aren't your fault. Getting chewed out by your manager for being over into budgeted hours for a client. Staying in hotels 5 days a week during busy season. Eating poorly because you never had time to cook. Let's just say one of the best days of my life was when I got laid off from that place, which opened the door for a great opportunity with none of the issues listed above.
Isn't being treated like a nuisance when requesting supporting documents just the best? Especially for doing walkthroughs. And when you realize the client didn't give everything needed, it's suddenly you who must be at fault. And it seems that both the client's staff and your own in-charges are ganging up on you. Also, the very idea of time budgets can freak right off. What do you do now, if I may ask? How many busy seasons did you go through? When I was an auditor, there was a joke around our office. Being an auditor is like being a hooker. You do awful things for your clients. You spend a lot of time at the hotels. And each day you look into the mirror and think, I won't be doing it for the rest of my life.
Already am. Therapy is a magical thing where you learn to burn down anything that is bad for you. And then you take it to your family. My family seems to be somewhat accepting of me burning down the stupidity that is hurting us all. And leaving the nice things. Though,
in therapy now and agree with you. Sadly, burning down the bad stuff has included my family. I am happy you are better off today than yesterday. Have an upvote. Therapy for me burned the cycle of poverty and is giving my wife and kids a better me in a better future. My therapist is big on reminding me that I can't control others, but also it's amazing what wonders I have achieved by saying things like, stop enabling her on my behalf, and, I don't know. Why don't you call her and ask, when my family tries to draw me into drama?
My old job. A lot of the people quit when I did. They'll survive, but the atmosphere isn't nearly as light anymore because all the fun people left except one. And now the turnover rate is ridiculously high.
Same type of thing going on with my job. The thing is, no one's quitting except for me. There are only a couple of people I legitimately don't mind. The rest are either rude or unbearable to be around. Now, I haven't been the hardest worker there myself, honestly, as it's a minimum wage job. But still, you can't treat someone like that. Same type of thing going on with my job. The thing is, no one's quitting except for me. There are only a couple of people I legitimately don't mind. The rest are either rude or unbearable to be around. Now, I haven't been the hardest worker there myself, honestly, as it's a minimum wage job. But still, you can't treat someone like that. Working at a place with this sort of mess sounds like way too much drama.
The time I was working at a psychiatric hospital and the CEO assumed I smoked drugs because I had dreadlocks. I worked hard for those patients and they trusted me. I shielded the hospital from nearly weekly riots of patients. After being unfairly judged and made to look dispensable, I almost set the inmates loose on the asylum. But then, I realized that it was selfish and those people I cared so much about would be punished for fighting my fight for me and basically would be the firewood for my fire.
Just go on vacation for a month. Then they all know what you do for them. I am guessing there are cases of patient abuse and neglect in your hospital. How simple-minded do you have to be to think they have X hairstyle that means they do Y?
When I was like 15, I got in a fight with my friend over something stupid. I went home and was shaking with rage. Full-on puberty meltdown anger. I was stomping up and down the hallway, breathing through my teeth all hard. At one point I went in the kitchen and got a knife and started talking to God like, forgive me for what I do to him. Quote, lol frickin' Nimrod. I am embarrassed when I think about that.
Lol. Sometimes the op quote is a meaningful reminder for our compassion for others. And sometimes it's emblematic of all our fiery, angsty teen hormone rage. That's why I stopped playing Mario Party. Yeah, this kind of teenage rage is what I expected more of ITT. But on a larger scale. Like for every school shooter. I'm assuming there must be hundreds who've considered it and many who've come close.
My brother is 10 years younger than me and is a teenager. I regularly drive him around to see his girlfriend and to his classes. Recently he's becoming very disrespectful and downright rude. He's only nice to me if I've made food or if he needs a ride, and in a way that pisses me off even more. The amount of times I have seriously considered pulling over and making him walk the last 10 miles home.
You shouldn't drive him around. Just don't drive him around if he's disrespectful. Lol, just don't drive him.
Here in Australia, the fire starts itself. That's a badass proverb if I do say so myself. Working in corporate.
I've only heard it in the Black Panther movie, but it is a great one. This hurt me physically to read.
If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear. I've never done this in real life, but definitely in video games from time to time.
What's the matter? Somebody steal your sweet roll. Quick save. I was really angry about something not very important, so I went on Red Dead Redemption and went and shot up the monastery. My brother came into the room and saw me screaming at the TV while slaughtering nuns. Good times. Do you get to the Cloud District often? Oh, what am I saying? Of course you don't.
Life in public accounting. I always feel like a loser in school. I have friends but end up alone 95% of the time. It's rough, dog.
Hey mate, I've been there. It's gonna be okay. School is short. If you need to talk, PM me. Middle school was the worst. Find a fresh start and make friends. My recommendation is to join an activity and make older friends who don't know you yet. I had to completely reinvent myself going into high school. And now people like me. I was borderline suicidal, and my friends used me as someone to bully. If I could be popular, you sure as hell can. God, I know those feels, not being anyone's first choice friend. It gets better, fam, I promise.
When I told my mom I was being sexually abused, the first words out of her mouth was, "Nobody wants to touch you." I was 8.
You didn't deserve that. I hope you're doing well these days. What the actual frick?
My side hobby is dog rescue. My Facebook feed is filled with code red animals that are about to be euthanized. With news reports of animal abuse after animal abuse after animal abuse, sexual assault of animals, starving them, beating them, dogfighting, some with quite graphic photos. If I respected life less and had martial skills. But fortunately I am not them. And I refuse to become them. Instead I will do what I can to heal the mess they leave behind. It is a great quote, but not an African proverb. The origin of the quote is from this passage: if the fires that innately burn inside youths are not intentionally and lovingly added to the hearth of community, they will burn down the structures of culture. Just to feel the warmth. Poet Michael Meade. Men in the Water of Life. 1993. Not an African proverb. Dude is Celtic.
Where did he even get African from? It's been circling around the internet labeled as an African proverb for a while. I have no idea where it originated. When a source is anonymous and someone wants to sound wise, they go with African proverb.
In grade school all of my classmates were either hostile, judgmental, uncaring, manipulative, or some combination of them. The teachers didn't even help, and some of them even tried to bully me into thinking I was stupid. I tried talking to older and younger classes sometimes, but that would only cause more bullying. My parents didn't help me either. Their only advice was uselessly preaching about obedience and waiting. It's far in the past and doesn't really affect me anymore. But if I ever bear or adopt kids, I'll try to give them the guidance which I received way too late. My parents kicked me out to teach me a lesson after finding out I was bi. Almost killed myself so they would understand what I was feeling in that moment.
I'm glad you're still here. The best revenge is living well. That way you can actually see their reactions.
Right now, can't seem to catch a break. Feeling up to here with everything. Experienced some debilitating sickness. That pain, combined with mental pain, rage, and anguish from loss in 3 short months, led to me attempting to bust out an unbreakable window. Fractured my elbow, alone in the air, haven't eaten solid food in weeks. Losing my patience, lost all my energy. Sending kind notes to strangers on the internet is the only thing keeping me going. Please don't shed a tear. I just need to vent. At this time now, my desire to leave my country and renounce my citizenship gets stronger day by day because of all the shit I see in my government done to the people. Whenever I go camping or to a bonfire party without a total fire ban,
I nearly had a stroke reading your username. But man, I relate. The total fire ban in Australia means camping and parties aren't the same as they used to be. Do you think it's pronounced read red or read red?
Complete apathy during most of my elementary years. It was always burning since the world's been turning.
We didn't start the fire. Yeah, we didn't light it, but we're trying to fight it.
Almost my entire adult life, with spaces in between. In middle school, I had a teacher who taught my favorite class, geography. I had maps in my room. I could recite all the countries and some capitals, and tell you a little bit about a lot of them. I was a starry, bright-eyed student looking to learn more, and she was a bore. She was sexist, rude, dry, and took zero interest in teaching. She would dismiss my questions in class, give us 2-part assignments, and test us on topics we didn't learn in class. To make a long story short, she was no longer working at the school at the end of the year thanks to me. Burn, Mrs.
Wait, tell us how she no longer works there. What went down? You finish this goddamn story right now. I have got to hear the long story for this.
I was eating up bread for 1 minute, 50 seconds too long.
My idiot self misunderstood the question. Nah, gotta say yours was still pretty great. Hell, it made me giggle.
I've been self-immolating for 20 years. Within a few months as a teenager I was arrested for selling drugs. Went to jail and was put on probation. All the while my parents were having a nasty divorce and being kicked out of school. Not for drugs. Wouldn't give me my stapler. I said I was gonna do it. I told him, it's my stapler. I think this applies. My family rejected me, so then my closest friends become my family. You know, like, friends are the family you choose. And now my family is surprised they're not included in my future plans at all, and I prioritize them less during holidays. High school. It was a miserable time to be a poor kid in affluent suburbs. I did start the fire, but it almost hurt people I loved. So I put it out. I just never regretted starting it. I'd say that applies extremely well to school shootings in the United States. Had a group of friends that were extremely toxic and bullied me often. One in particular knew I had feelings for him. Before discovering that he was horrible, he used this to take advantage of me and was really verbally abusive. His friends often followed him in abusing me, and one threatened violence against me when I wasn't in the room. I really wanted to punch all of them in the face. But one of them was a martial arts champion and the others were bigger and stronger than me. Instead, I made a series of paintings to cope with the emotional damage and recently gave a speech about it. I mean, did you go to high school? Almost seems like the theme of Joker.
It's the theme of a lot of media, especially revenge stories that blame a group's society.
I've seen this proverb pop up a lot on Reddit. I feel like it's some bullshit someone said online once and they were like, oh, it's from Africa. When I worked for a bank.
What happened there, if you don't mind me asking? I freaking hate national banks. Does the bank's name happen to sound like Hell's Cargo?
Sounds like a made-up proverb someone ascribed to Africa, so it seems more legit. Was first chair in my high school clarinet section. The others didn't play very well. I'm not just saying that because I was first. They never practiced and made it very clear that they didn't care about getting good at the clarinet. They were jerks to me. I almost switched to saxophone so I could see them struggle without me.